So today, Mr. Modi on the Constitution Day has spoken about dynasty politics and dynasty being a big hindrance to the growth of the country. So it's a very important issue that we are touching upon today, and yeah, it is something which has got a lot of angles to be discussed. So today morning we had this Honorable former Chief Justice of India, KG Balakrishnan, who addressed us on the relooking at the Constitution, and this is the second summit of the day, and look forward to hearing from you because you have been gracious enough to get up early in the morning in Atlanta and address this important issue. We are touching upon issues, as you are very well aware, over the last 6 months. This is another important issue as flagged off by the Prime Minister today in the Parliament. Dynasty politics, India growth story. Major General Ranjit Singh ji, over to you, sir.
Amiji, thank you and good morning again. You are touching again on a very important issue, which definitely has affected India to a great extent. And right during the freedom struggle, or even just after the freedom struggle, what definitely India has been affected by the dynastic politics. Maybe there's no harm in taking named Pandit Nehru ji because of Motilal Nehru and being closer to Gandhi ji was elected as a prime minister rather than Sardar Patel, who had the mass following in the country. Even the delegates voted in his favor. And thereafter, if you see Shastriji's election and then his mysterious death in Tashkent, then followed by Indiraji, she projected Rajiv and Sanjay. There's no doubt, no third leader at the national politics. And now definitely Rahul Gandhi, whose caliber, whose qualification, probably to my understanding, is doubtful. Similarly, Amitji, the state politics. There's no qualification for them. A chief minister was not seen a school. He's run the important state of North India for 5 years. Or even, there's no harm in taking the other name of a big state chief minister who failed in class 6 twice, was elected as a chief minister of a state just because he got some certificate from Australia. So this is the kind of cheap politics which definitely ruining the country. And the constitution is silent on these people's election as a chief minister or a prime minister. And many states, even in South India, are again having dynastic politics. There are rapes, murders of the heroes or a saint. Mahatma ka murder hota hai. But the dynastic politics and their people in the constitution, there's no doubt, they are let free. But definitely the Aam Aadmi knows this. That is what is definitely is happening in some of these states. However, the property, Amitji, is except in some cases where they are publicly known. You see the property which they have been having, thousands and thousands of crores, just because of dynastic rule. Is there no other leader in the country? But they would never allow any third person to command a state or in the national politics. Take any name, whether it is Punjab or Haryana, UP or Madhya Pradesh, the Bihar, and some states in South India. They have got their claim to run the country, to run the state. Therefore, it is high time that the youth of this country understands these people. In fact, I happened to meet Dr. Kalam on a number of occasions. He always used to tell us, skill with Shiksha, Sanskar, Sanskriti of the country. Every youth must know this. What about some of the people who are not born even in this country? How will they know the Sanskriti, Sanskar of this country? So therefore, that is a lacuna in our constitution, and they are trying to rule this country. Amitji, it's a high time now that at least the youth of this country should understand that we should definitely elect such persons who are having skill, no doubt, some qualification, they know the Sanskriti, they have got some sanskar, and they should know the state and country's politics, rather than वो हमारे देश के ऊपर या हमारे स्टेट के ऊपर थोपा जाए, जैसे कि कुछ स्टेट में और कभी-कभी कंट्री में ये हुआ है. Person is not interested to run the country, but he has been thrust on our country. So in my opinion, Amit ji, it is high time, definitely. अगर एक चाय वाला प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन सकता है, and he is proving it, so why not others in states? So this is a high time that we should definitely think on those lines. Thank you, Amit ji.
General sir, going by your nature and your style, I do understand 3 minutes is more than enough for you to express whatever views you have. But when we look at other fields, every field has this process in India. That is what I probably can talk about. We have in every the next generation reaps the benefit of the prior generation, almost in every field that we've been seeing. So, what is so hula baloo about politics?
Amit ji, really speaking, if you see the defense, the generals are not their fathers or their parents were generals. My father was a Jawan in Second World War. He was in Germany jail for 4 years. And there was total transparency. There was a test. We qualified. There was an interview for 5 days. We qualified. And thereafter in the army defense, there were promotion exams. If you pass, you become. If you don't pass, you stay in that particular rank. And of course, IAS, I do not know much, really speaking, because they have got their own system of promotions, and they are the one who are ruling the country. So the bureaucrats definitely have got this. But in the other fields, to some extent, there is some transparency. That's what I feel, Amit ji.
When somebody becomes a general, he is almost 60. So
Yeah,
and when a man becomes a superstar like Shah Rukh Khan or say Amitabh
yeah,
Bachchan, they were probably 32 or 33. Or Akshay Kumar probably 30 or 27. By that time, they're
yeah.
superstars. So the kids that are born to them in 20 years' time, it becomes quite a beautiful time for them to reap the benefits of what their father has sown. But the same cannot be applied. So basically, what we are comparing is apples and oranges. So you look at any field, you look at lawyers' chambers. If you have your father as a very successful lawyer or an advocate or a chartered accountant or any professional, a doctor, if you get the same degree to practice as a professional, obviously for that also you get a lot of advantage because you go through the same rigors and system and you are, well guided by your family. At the same time, you also get the same clientele and you do not really struggle to get those clients. What is wrong in reaping the benefits of what your father has sown? Because you also passed the professional examination just like your father. Yes, you had the advantage. So what? Nature decided you were to be born there. You were born there, and you were lucky to have cleared the examination with your hard work. And then finally, if you get the clients of your father and rule the healthcare area sector in that particular area, or the clients of your father as a lawyer, what is the problem in that? So if that is all okay, if a son of every film star, superstar, or a daughter of a superstar becomes a superstar, ultimately, what can be seen starts getting sold, and rather, people buy whatever they see. Today's world, attention spans are very, very limited.
Amit ji, very right.
Attention spans are
Amit
very
ji,
limited. So when you talk about dynasty politics, the same thing applies to probably the kid who is born to a politician, and I believe that he has also been through the same. He's also elected finally by the people. Otherwise, he would not become an MP or an MLA. He has to also get elected. So, if that is the barometer of democracy, and he's also following the democratic barometer, what is the problem?
Amit ji, you've given very right examples of 2, 3 areas. I also touch upon. Firstly, if you talk about the film heroes Shah Rukh Khan or Akshay, what about Shashank Rajput, who was an engineer? Compare that boy with the Salman Khan and party of Gundas. So his thinking and perception was totally different. He would say, I would like to meet the Honorable Prime Minister. Think about NASA taking greed, poor children for science and technology. He was totally different from this class. And similarly, the other example, players. If you take Gavaskar's son, he could not reach that level. Or Sachin Tendulkar, the boy may be playing, but it's not necessary that thank you, Meji.
Sir, you see, yeah, we do understand, here we are talking, we should rather focus on talking about a specific field here. Talk about kingdoms and rulers, talking about politics. We're talking about the democracy of 150 crore people.
Mhm.
This is a completely different issue, and it should not be, firstly, we should not be mixing it with general concept of dynasty rule. Dynasty rule, or probably successors, succeeding the throne, or, reaping the fruits of the legacy of their predecessors, should not be mixed with rulers and kingdoms, because yes, this is a totally different issue altogether. And here also, there are both sides to the coin. Somebody more competent who comes up through the system after fighting through all the odds, like probably what the prime minister currently is credited with, India's prime minister, and somebody who in the opposition is being charged with having been born with a silver spoon is concerned. I mean, again, he was privy to probably the same, or probably if not more, experiences of ruling a country like India, because he must have seen it. If I personally think about it, Mr. Rahul Gandhi must have definitely seen how India was ruled over the last 50 years, 60 years, or probably, I don't know his age. He must be what, 50 plus now, for sure. So if he's 50 plus, he was born in the prime minister's family. His
Yeah.
grandmother, late grandmother, was a prime minister, father prime minister, mother was the ruler of the opposition. She was the de facto head. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi has also been privy to the nitty-gritties and the course and challenges of running India. Now, right or wrong is a different issue again.
खुद सर दर्द हो रहा है, दूसरे के लगे हुए हो,
Yes.
इसीलिए हमको दर्द होता है.
Why do we question his capability when he is getting elected as well, or probably defeated like he did in Amethi this time? So, since he got defeated, that concretizes another fact that as long as people believed in him, they elected him. They got somebody better finally, so they elected her, Smriti Irani. So again, it concretizes the fact that even Mr. Rahul Gandhi did not get Amethi on a plate. He probably won it. So if he won it as an MP, had the experience of 50 years, seeing what a prime minister goes through and how he runs a country, we cannot simply say it's dynasty politics which has to be blamed and he doesn't deserve to be there. Probably he doesn't have the qualities which he is now displaying, or probably some people say he displays that he doesn't have those qualities, then that could be questioned. But dynasty politics as such, probably there are more facets to it that need to be touched upon. General Dushyant Singh, if in case he is there, he may speak on this.
Dynasty politics, uh, you see, every person has got some inherent qualities in
Can
him.
we see you, or your camera has been put on off?
My camera has been put on off. I'll just switch on my camera. Yeah. Uh, Dynasty politics, in my view, in the face of it, it has got a negative connotation, right? But not everyone is negative, is also true. So, if given an opportunity, there are people who rise to the occasion and perform well. And there are examples in our country also where people, despite having a dynastic progression, have done well. At the same time, there are people who if I quote the example of Chaudhary Charan Singh, now his son did not excel as Chaudhary Charan Singh did, and it was Mulayam Singh Yadav who actually took the place of Chaudhary Charan Singh. But whether Mulayam Singh Yadav's son Akhilesh will be able to replicate Mulayam Singh Yadav is a question which we have to see. So we can't totally negate any such things into black and white. I suppose the jury is still out. We need to watch that person how he performs if given an opportunity, and if he performs well, there is no harm, right? But it should not become a rule that yes, Prime Minister ka ladka will always perform well. So I think we should keep it a little amorphous as far as this particular issue is concerned. We should judge him on his performance.
Globally, what is the trend like, Major General Ranjit Singh ji? What is the trend like globally? Would you like to say something, because you've been a chancellor, vice chancellor of 3 universities, central universities also, and you've also been traveling to the capital of the world, uh, United States of America, as they say. So, any views on the global kind of trends that we have from a dynasty rule perspective?
Amitji, really speaking, I don't think there is any other example. The way our country has been ruled by one dynasty for 40 years or 50 odd years. Definitely in foreign countries, you have to have a voting system. America, anybody can be elected. Now see, a lot of Indians are coming, but there's no dynasty as well. Same Australia. You see people coming up now. But in our country, the pity is, I thank General Dushyant sir, उसने बहुत अच्छा example लिया है. So Charan Singh versus Ajit. See, what a miserable difference. Same with Choi Devilal versus the present generation. Lalu Yadav versus Rabdi Devi. Mulayam ji versus Akhilesh. Anyway, I don't rate Lalu ji or Mulayam ji also, in fact, because if you see their property, how come they have earned thousands and thousands of crores? मुलायम जी के घर में से 23 आदमी पॉलिटिक्स में परिवार से, क्या वही मिनिस्टर के लायक हैं? Why not a person from a poor background who has got caliber, who has got qualification, who is honest and transparent? But they don't allow anybody to come. Anybody trying to come up to that level, he's wiped out. That is what is a pitiable condition in our country, in some of the states. They have their parental claim, which I don't accept. The way we have in foreign countries, whether it is France, Japan, or Germany, sorry, England or America, definitely. Trump was slightly becoming overambitious. He was put down. So therefore, but in our country, they also faced, Indiraji was defeated very badly. But then the family will stay in politics, whether it is Rahul, Sonia, or in Priyanka. They go for a picnic, stay there for 2-3 days, and come back without knowing the ABC of Indian culture, Indian Sanskriti and Sanskar. I'm telling frankly. You can't run a country like this on a temporary basis. Thank you, Maji.
See, in our country, we also do not have any, benchmarks or qualification standards that are, prescribed by the Constitution or the rules office, bearer rules of the Parliament election, or the election commissioner doesn't set up any rules also. Left aside, not even for elections we have any rules which are followed. So now, in that situation, I mean, it is the system to be blamed of a particular party or a particular gathering, which ultimately, nobody is stopping somebody else from, taking the top chair, because the system allowed it. In the case of the current dispensation, probably the system that they allowed since beginning of the inception, or since the inception of this BJP or Jansang or whatever we call it, the system allowed the performers to excel and come up through the rigors of political, slugfest. But in the case of the opposition today, or the other opposition parties, or any other political party which is ruling the country, which is part of the ruling dispensation in their states, nobody is stopping somebody to excel. The system probably doesn't allow. So, as Mr. General, Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh suggested, I was also pointing out, the word should not be used as a taboo. The opportunity should be there because the pros and cons are both there with the successor as well. He is privy to, like Rahul Gandhi, as I said, was privy to 50 years of, kingdom. Probably Mr. Modi never knew what a prime minister thinks like, except till he became the chief minister, probably. Because till that time, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, though he was probably 20 years younger to him, he already had 40 years or 45 years of experience of seeing the prime minister's chair in his house. Now, I'm not vouching for Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I'm just trying to analyze as a common man his experience again, how he uses it, how competent he is to use it is another issue. Now that could be questioned, and that the system has to question and allow somebody else. So if the system is not allowing it, so that is the problem with the system of the party. And then who are electing those people? The people, the public at large. So ultimately, who is to be blamed? The democracy,
Yeah.
not the dynasty.
Uh,
अगर ऐसा होता तो अमेठी से, if that had been the case, Mr. Gandhi finally would not have been defeated from Amethi, because they had somebody better. They chose that lady finally. They did not select Rahul Gandhi again. Now, there could be many dynamics to it. I'm not getting into it. The mudda ye hai कि Rahul Gandhi did not buy Amethi. If he had bought Amethi, it would have been a contract under Sale of Goods Act, which would not have fallen apart. Now, now in that case, I would like to bring in Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh ji. Dushyant Singh ji, your final views on what should, is the democracy to be blamed for this dynasty taboo word?
I think there are three things which we must consider before blaming any particular entity. The first thing is the culture of our country. The culture of our country has always been of a king worship. Throughout, if you see our historical moorings, we have always looked up to somebody who should guide you. Okay, so this issue of a common man trying to elevate himself up to a king is a very rare phenomenon. So that is one part. So the second part is about the democracy itself. We have a democracy which is first past the post, right? Moment you have a democracy which is first past the post, it does not throw up meritocracy, because anybody who is able to win the election even by one vote has the mandate to govern the entire lot who may have opposed him. So in my view, a little more nuanced democratic system is at fault. Let's say, for example, Bhutan. If you take the democracy of Bhutan, it goes through a very, very systemic process of electing the government. It has the first round wherein the riffraffs are taken out. So anybody who, the first and the second party then fight the election for the entire country. So if we have something like that, then the acceptability of our democratic system will become that much better. So I tend to agree that constitutionally, probably we have not put enough safeguards for meritocracy. And the third thing is, which I feel, is that the dynasty person has an advantage, natural advantage. If you take even in the film city, for example, a hero's son, Amitabh Bachchan's son, Abhishek Bachchan, had an advantage over the normal common public. It didn't mean that Akshay Kumar could not come. But that advantage of a dynastic person, you have to grant him. You take the American example, George Bush Sr. gave way to George Bush Jr. But George Bush Jr. had
Yeah.
to fight, prove himself, and come up when his turn came. But he had an advantage because he had a political family, right? So I think we should allow these leverages which are there within the system, but our systems must become more stronger and robust. Our democracy must have those checks. There may be a requirement of reviewing our democratic process a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, so that merit comes forward. As of today, merit is ignored totally. You will have anybody or anyone, any Tom, Dick, and Harry who can get elected. So, so if we have this system of 2 rounds, I think we will be a little better. Of course, the expenditure will go. Expenditure will become even more higher with so many.
You see, again,
So from
directly
that
and
point of
indirectly,
view, my view is that it's a combined effect of all these 3, 4 reasons, which leads to repeated failures as far as our democracy is concerned. In any case, let's grant democracies are always slow to evolve. The progress in our democracy is always slow. It takes a lot of time. We cannot compare it with China, which is a more of an autocratic system where one party rule prevails.
you see,
I
I
think
think more or less, we are touching upon the same aspect of not to treat dynasty as the word dynasty as a taboo, but it should be treated as just a phenomena, as a natural phenomena. People will have successors, people will have predecessors.
correct.
System allows them to take that position. The system will take care of their evacuation also, or non-acceptance. We can see that
Absolutely.
in the case of films also. We can, a lawyer's son, though he gets 100 clients directly from his father's files, cupboard, if he is not able to do justice, or a successful doctor's son, he gets the same chamber to practice, and he gets privy to say 500 patients of who have been loyal to his father. Ultimately, if he cannot do justice because he is qualified as a doctor only to practice, but at the end of the day, despite all that, despite the experience of his father, if he is not able to do justice to the clients, the system will evict him or not accept him. So we should not, in the same vein, I would say, films also, the same thing happens with films also. We have empty number of cases where the successors of successful heroes and heroines do take up the profession because it's a very highly paying profession, but ultimately the system doesn't accept them. They are out. They have to establish they get a first mover advantage, but again we cannot say that's an advantage. They might have been through rigors which probably a common man might not have been through. Yes, they get that position. But again, how do we know what rigors Rahul Gandhi went through, or how do we know what rigors probably an Abhishek Bachchan went through? None of them were qualified from the National School of Drama, neither Akshay Kumar nor Rahul nor Abhishek Bachchan. So they had their own struggles probably. That also we cannot vouch for because we were not in their bedrooms exactly. But at the end of the day, the system did not accept Abhishek as he is not a successful hero, or the system did not allow him to become a hero, whatever it is. And here we have Mr. Akshay Kumar, despite all his shortcomings, he is definitely one of the topmost successful stars in the country. So, and again, we cannot compare the apples and oranges. We should not be comparing professions when it comes to the top positions or the success or the failures are concerned. Every profession has got different parameters. Like politics, as I said, Abhimanyu would have learned how to break the Chakravyuh in the womb of his mother. Ultimately, he had to go through a training to break it. It's not that it was served to him on a platter. Abhimanyu was born Abhimanyu, but he did not break the Chakravyuh because he was born Abhimanyu. He broke it because he deserved to break it. There were others in Mahabharata also. Could not they have learned that skill? Or probably that was not available. I do not know. At the end of the day, we know Abhimanyu broke the Chakravyuh. So we should credit him for that. In case he hadn't, then probably we could have said, as such, you got the advantage, but you still did not do it. Same probably applies to Rahul Gandhi. And so has been the case with Amethi, which has proved the verdict in the last assembly elections, Lok Sabha elections. Sorry. Major General Ranjit Singh ji, your final views on the subject?
Amit I agree with John Dushin what he said. Rahul or whatever party Akhilesh Yadav they have got their advantage. But how long can we give them this advantage? 20 years they have been using it. Even if Achilles can say Jinnah, because of Jinnah's contribution, we got this freedom. This is the kind of culture, sanskar, shiksha, sanskriti they have learned from their parents or from the country. I'm telling you, it is a disgrace. I mean, it's a disgrace. The democracy must mature now. Of course, country still lacks education, awakening. Farmers are poor, बेचारे वो लोग इतने awakening नहीं है. Laborers उनमें इतनी awakening नहीं है. But the casteism and the religion plays still a dominant role, which has to go away so that our democracy matures. What example is given? George Bush, definitely, he proved it. So ये कब तक prove करते रहेंगे हमारे देश में? हम इनको chance देते रहेंगे. Or we have got other people who are really honest, competent, जिनको शिक्षा भी है, संस्कार भी है, संस्कृति भी आता है, सोशल भी है और वो कनेक्टेड है लोगों से. आप एक महीना इंडिया में, एक महीना बाहर एंजॉय करते हैं. So therefore, ये picnic type politics must stop in our country. Amit ji.
So basically, it is about the system which has to be blamed. The entire
Yeah.
process and the system has to be blamed, not the word, not the process,
Yes.
natural process of dynasty succession and predecessors. All these are excuses which we can keep finding for evading cleaning up the system. Probably the prime minister would be and the country would be better served in looking forward to, as we were having a show in the morning with the former Chief Justice of India, Justice KG Balakrishnan ji. We are re-looking at the constitution. Probably India needs to relook at the constitution to improve the systems rather than playing, kind of mudslinging games, which are, completely driven by politically vested interest. Thank you, gentlemen. Look forward again. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Amit ji.